Welcome to the Cheating Wife Stories channel. Dominic "Dom" Stone stood in his office at Stone Industries, examining the latest custom furniture designs spread across his mahogany desk. His fingers traced the intricate patterns on the blueprints, a legacy of craftsmanship passed down through generations. At 48, he commanded respect with his imposing presence, his tailored suit a testament to his success. "Mr. Stone," his secretary's voice crackled through the intercom, "the medical specialist from Denmark is on line 1. Dom's jaw tightened as he reached for the phone. The weariness in his eyes deepened, betraying the strain of the past 6 months. "Dr. Muller, thank you for taking my call." "Mr. Stone, I've reviewed Mrs. Stone's case files." The specialist's accented voice came through. "The treatment protocol you're suggesting. Money is no object." Dom cut in, his voice firm. "Whatever it takes to save my wife." The door opened, and James Fletcher entered, his weathered face creased with concern. Dom held up a finger, continuing his conversation. "I understand the risks, doctor. Set up the consultation. My assistant will arrange the travel details." He ended the call, turning to his friend of 20 years. "Another specialist?" James asked, settling into the leather chair across from Dom's desk. "The best oncologist in Europe," Dom said, loosening his tie. "He's developed an experimental treatment that could help Sophia." James leaned forward, his expression grave. "Dom, you've spent millions on treatments. The company's finances. I don't give a damn about the finances." Dom's fist slammed onto the desk, sending papers flying. "This is my wife we're talking about. And what about your son? What about the legacy you're meant to pass on to Marcus?" James's voice remained steady. "You're talking about selling parts of the company your grandfather built." Dom's shoulders sagged slightly. "What would you have me do, James? Watch her die? I'm asking you not to lose yourself in this obsession." James stood, placing a hand on Dom's shoulder. "When was the last time you slept through the night?" Before Dom could respond, his phone buzzed. A text from Sophia at the charity gala with Victor. "Don't work too late. Love you." The annual Cancer Research Gala was in full swing at the Grand Plaza Hotel. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above the city's elite, their laughter mingling with the soft jazz of the live band. Sophia Stone commanded attention in her emerald evening gown, her natural grace masking any signs of illness. Dr. Victor Gray stood nearby, his charm on full display as he entertained donors. His position as one of the city's top oncologists made him a natural draw. But his eyes kept finding their way back to Sophia. "Mrs. Stone," he called out, approaching her with 2 champagne flutes. "You should be resting, not dazzling the whole room." Sophia accepted the drink, her fingers brushing against his. "Doctor's orders. Friend's advice," Victor corrected, leading her to a quieter corner. "Though I must say, you look radiant tonight." "Flattery, Victor." Her lips curved into a knowing smile. "What would Dom think?" "Dom trusts me with his wife's life," Victor said, his voice dropping lower. "He'd trust me with anything." Their eyes met, an electric current passing between them. Sophia broke the contact first, taking a sip of champagne to hide her flushed cheeks. "Speaking of Dom," Victor continued, "how's he handling everything?" Sophia paused, choosing her words carefully. "He's desperate to save me. Sometimes I think he'd sell his soul if it meant finding a cure." "And the company?" "He's considering selling shares to fund more treatments." She glanced around, ensuring no one was within earshot. He'd never have considered it 6 months ago. Victor's hand found the small of her back, the touch lingering longer than necessary. "You should get home. We don't want to raise suspicions." Later that night, Dom sat in his home office, scrolling through photos on his phone. Sophia's smile beamed back at him from countless images. Anniversaries, Marcus's 16th birthday, family vacations. His thumb hovered over a recent picture of her with Victor at a hospital fundraiser. "I'll find a way," he whispered to himself, unaware that the foundation of his life had already begun to crack. The next morning brought a familiar routine. Dom and Sophia sat at their breakfast table, the silence broken only by the gentle clink of silverware against china. "You came home late," Sophia commented, not looking up from her toast. "Had to finish some paperwork." Dom studied her face, searching for signs of fatigue. "How was the gala?" "Good. Victor helped raise quite a bit for the cancer wing." She met his gaze. "He asked about you. He's a good friend." Dom reached for her hand. "Ready for your treatment?" The drive to the hospital was quiet, each lost in their own thoughts. Dom pulled up to the entrance, leaning over to kiss her goodbye. "I'll pick you up in a few hours." "No need." Sophia adjusted her scarf. "Victor offered to drive me home. He wants to discuss some new treatment options." Dom nodded, watching her disappear through the sliding doors. He sat there for a moment, James's words from yesterday echoing in his mind. Something felt off, but he couldn't place it. With a shake of his head, he drove to work. The day dragged on, filled with meetings and decisions he couldn't focus on. By mid-afternoon, he'd had enough. "Cancel my remaining appointments," he told his secretary. "I'm heading to the hospital." The hospital corridors were busy with the usual afternoon traffic of medical staff and visitors. Dom approached the reception desk when an older nurse intercepted him. "Mr. Stone." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "I'm Nurse Nina. Could I speak with you privately?" Something in her tone made him follow her to a quiet alcove. "Sir, She wrung her hands, glancing nervously around. "I shouldn't be telling you this, but your wife isn't here for chemotherapy." Dom's blood ran cold. "What?" "She comes here to meet Dr. Gray in the private wing," Nina said, her voice trembling. "Yesterday, I overheard them. Your wife said, 'Babe, your husband's so desperate to save you from this fake cancer, he's selling his family business. Soon we'll have everything.'" The world seemed to stop. Dom gripped the wall for support, his knees threatening to buckle. "There's more," Nina continued, her eyes filled with sympathy. "Your son knows. I heard them mention him. He calls you the biggest loser and can't wait to change his surname to Gray." Dom's face remained impassive, but his eyes turned to steel. "Thank you, Nina. You've done the right thing." She hurried away, leaving him alone with the devastating truth. Instead of leaving, Dom moved to a position behind a large pillar, his old military training kicking in as he controlled his breathing and waited. 20 minutes later, Victor emerged from the private wing, adjusting his tie with a satisfied smirk. 5 minutes after that, Sophia appeared, her cheeks flushed and her hair slightly disheveled. Dom followed them, maintaining a safe distance. He watched as they met in the parking garage, saw Victor pull Sophia into a passionate kiss. His hands clenched into fists as he observed their casual intimacy, the way they touched and laughed together. He tailed Victor's car to a small bistro, where they shared an intimate lunch, holding hands across the table, feeding each other bites of dessert like teenagers in love. Back home, Dom sat in his darkened study, a glass of whiskey untouched before him. The family portrait on his desk mocked him with its lies. His phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Treatment went well. Having dinner with Marcus. Don't wait up." Dom's hand tightened around the glass until it shattered, blood mixing with spilled whiskey. He didn't flinch as he picked out shards of glass from his palm. "You want everything," he whispered to the empty room, his voice devoid of emotion. "Let's see how much you can handle when I take it all away." He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. "James, I need you to come over. Now. And bring me everything you have on the best private investigators in the city. It's time to go to war." The morning sun filtered through the windows of Dom's Bentley as he drove Sophia to her weekly chemotherapy appointment. Her designer handbag sat between them like a barrier, containing what she claimed were medications and comfort items for her treatment. "You seem quiet today," Sophia observed, touching up her lipstick in the vanity mirror. "Just thinking about the company." Dom's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. "The new treatment plans are putting a strain on our resources." "You'll figure it out." She reached over to pat his hand. You always do. Dom watched her walk into the hospital, noting how she moved with an energy that belied her supposed condition. Her heels clicked confidently across the polished floor until she disappeared through the sliding doors. At his office, Dom couldn't focus. James's warning kept replaying in his mind, mixing with the strange feeling in his gut that something wasn't right. Files demanding his attention lay untouched on his desk. He stared at his computer screen, unseeing. "Mr. Stone," his secretary's voice interrupted his thoughts. "The board meeting. Cancel it." He stood abruptly, grabbing his jacket. Cancel everything. The drive back to the hospital was a blur of racing thoughts and growing suspicion. As he approached the reception area, Nurse Nina intercepted him again. "Mr. Stone," she spoke in hushed tones, "could we speak privately?" In a quiet corner, away from prying eyes, Nana's words shattered his world. "Your wife isn't here for chemotherapy, sir. She meets Dr. Gray in the private wing." "What?" Dom's voice was barely audible. "I overheard them yesterday," Nina said, glancing around nervously. "Babe, your husband's so desperate to save you from this fake cancer, he's selling his family business. Soon we'll have everything." She quoted Sophia's words, her voice shaking. "Your son, he knows everything," Nina added. "He calls you the biggest loser and can't wait to change his surname to Gray." The information hit Dom like physical blows, but years of business negotiations had taught him to mask his reactions. "Thank you, Nina. You've done the right thing." Instead of leaving, Dom positioned himself behind a large pillar in the lobby. His controlled breathing waited, watching the entrance to the private wing. 20 minutes passed before Victor emerged, adjusting his tie with a self-satisfied smirk. 5 minutes later, Sophia appeared, her face flushed with a triumphant glow that had nothing to do with illness. Dom followed them at a distance, watching as they met in the parking garage. His jaw clenched as Victor pulled Sophia into a passionate embrace, their familiarity speaking of a long-standing affair. He tailed them to an intimate bistro where they shared lunch like young lovers, their casual touches and shared laughter, all while his company was being bled dry for fake treatments. Back home, Dom sat in his darkened study, a glass of whiskey untouched before him. The family portrait on his desk mocked him with its lies. His phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Treatment went well. Having dinner with Marcus. Don't wait up." The glass in his hand shattered, blood mixing with spilled whiskey. He didn't flinch as he picked shards from his palm. "You want everything," he whispered, his voice devoid of emotion. "Let's see how much you can handle when I take it all away." He pulled out his phone and dialed. "James, come over. Now. And bring me everything you have on private investigators. It's time to go to war." James spread files across Dom's desk. "Ryan Pierce comes highly recommended. Former detective, known for his discretion and thoroughness." Dom examined the PI's credentials, his face hard in the dim light of his study. "Make the call." 2 days later, Ryan sat across from Dom in a private room at the city's most exclusive club. The investigator's weathered face and sharp eyes spoke of years spent tracking lies. "I need everything," Dom stated, sliding an envelope across the table. "Bank records, phone logs, surveillance. Leave no stone unturned." Ryan examined the envelope's contents, a retainer that would make most men blink. He didn't. "Any particular areas of focus? Start with their financial connection. I want to know every penny that's passed between them." Over the next weeks, Ryan's reports painted a picture that made Dom's blood boil. A separate account under Sophia's name, regular transfers from Victor, suspicious spending patterns on luxury items that a dying woman would have no use for. "The affair's been going on for years," Ryan revealed during one meeting. "Well before the cancer diagnosis. That was just their latest con." Dom's face remained stone-like as he reviewed the evidence. Photos showed Sophia and Victor at high-end hotels, receipts for expensive gifts, text messages that made him grip the papers until they crumpled. "And my son." Dom's voice was dangerous. Ryan hesitated before pulling out another file. Marcus has been aware of everything. He's been helping them, actually. Found these on his private social media accounts. Screenshots showed Marcus's messages to friends, mocking his father's desperation to save his mother. The old man's so pathetic. One read, "Can't wait till Mom and Victor take everything. Already got my new surname picked out. Tell me about her background," Dom demanded, rage burning through his veins, though his expression stayed controlled. "Sofia Martinez grew up in poverty," Ryan said. "Single mother, struggled to make ends meet. She was working as a receptionist when she met you. Her mother had multiple failed marriages to wealthy men. Seems she taught her daughter to aim higher." Dom remembered their courtship, how he'd been charmed by Sofia's apparent gratitude for simple gestures. And Victor? His career's been stalling. Despite his reputation, he's been passed over for department head 3 times. He's in deep debt from gambling and luxury purchases. He's been making deals with your competitors, promising inside information about Stone Industries. James, who had been silent, finally spoke. "What are you thinking, Dom?" "I'm thinking it's time to show them who they're really dealing with." Dom stood, moving to the window. "They wanted to play games. Fine. But they're about to learn I don't play to win. I play to destroy." The next day, Dom's behavior toward Sofia and Marcus shifted subtly. His usual warmth vanished, replaced by cold courtesy. Where he once sought out their company, he now worked late, took meals separately, spoke only when necessary. "Dad," Marcus approached him one evening. "Are you mad about something?" Dom looked at his son, this stranger wearing his child's face, and felt nothing. "Why would I be mad? Everything's exactly as it should be." That night, Dom stood before the family portrait in the main hall, studying each smiling face. His wife's practiced charm, his son's hidden contempt, his own blind trust. With deliberate movements, he removed the photograph from its frame and tore it into pieces. In his study, he opened his laptop and began typing. The first email went to his lawyer, initiating changes to his will. The second went to his accountant, requesting a complete audit of company finances. The third went to a security team, authorizing new surveillance protocols. The phone rang, Victor's number flashing on the screen. Dom let it go to voicemail, a cold smile playing on his lips. Let them wonder. Let them worry. The time for confrontation would come, but first, he would make sure they had nowhere to run. "Gabriel has nothing on Ryan Pierce," James said, spreading new files across Dom's desk. "Ryan's the best in the city." Dom nodded. "I trust him. This needs to be airtight." Days turned into weeks as Ryan's thorough investigation yielded more evidence of Sofia and Victor's betrayal, and of Marcus's complicity. With every detail, Dom's resolve hardened. Revenge would not be swift or merciful, but slow and absolute. Finally, the day arrived for Dom's confrontation with Sofia. He chose the sterile conference room of his lawyer's office. Sofia arrived in designer clothes bought with his money, her face a mask of innocence. "What is this about, darling?" she asked, reaching for his hand. Dom pulled away, laying out the evidence one piece at a time. Bank statements, hotel receipts, photos of her and Victor, screenshots of Marcus's messages, 6 months of fake cancer treatments, years of affairs. He said, his voice arctic, "My own son plotting against me. It's all here, Sofia." "Dom, please." Sofia's tears started flowing. "I was confused, lonely. Say your performance." He cut her off. "You had me completely fooled. The devoted wife, the loving mother, all lies." "It wasn't all lies," she pleaded. "What about our life together? What about Marcus? My son?" Dom let out a laugh that held no warmth. "The one who can't wait to take another man's name." The door burst open as Marcus stormed in, his face red with anger. "You can't just throw us out. That's our home, too." "Your home." Dom turned to face his son, eyes piercing. The home you mocked while plotting with your mother to steal it. Mom deserves better than you. Marcus spat. Victor actually makes her happy. Then you can all be happy together in poverty. Dom's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You're no longer my son. Get out. Dom. Sophia tried one last time. Think about what you're doing. I have thought about it, he said, stepping closer, his presence dominating the room. For weeks, I've thought about nothing else. You wanted everything. Watch me take it all away. By the time I'm done, you'll wish you'd never heard the name Stone. As they left, Sophia's sobs echoing down the hallway, James approached cautiously. That was just the beginning, wasn't it? The beginning. Dom turned to his friend, a cold smile on his lips. No, James. That was mercy. Now we show them what real pain feels like. Your offshore accounts are untraceable, Ryan confirmed, sliding a USB drive across Dom's desk. We can start targeting their finances whenever you're ready. Dom plugged in the drive, reviewing the detailed financial web he had constructed. Each transaction was designed to slowly drain Victor and Sophia's resources while maintaining perfect deniability. What about the media contacts? Dom asked, not looking up from his screen. 3 major networks and 5 newspapers are ready to run the story, Ryan said. Your wife's fake cancer scandal will make headlines by morning. Are you sure about this? Once it breaks. They chose this path. Dom's fingers flew across the keyboard, initiating the first phase of financial attacks. Let them walk it to the end. The next day, Victor burst into Dom's office, face red with rage. Security moved to intercept him, but Dom waved them off. You vindictive devil. Victor shouted, throwing a newspaper onto the desk. The headlines screamed, Prominent doctor and socialite in cancer fraud scandal. Vindictive. Dom rose slowly, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to Victor's fury. I'm just getting started. Be reasonable, Dom. We've known each other since childhood. Dom finished for him, then sneered. You've been betraying me just as long. Did you think I wouldn't find out about your deals with my competitors? Victor's face paled. That's business. This is personal. No, Dom said. This is war. You want my money, my company, my life. Watch me destroy everything you thought you could steal. You're making a mistake. Victor's voice shifted to threatening. I can hurt you too. Try. Dom's smile was predatory. Give me a reason to unleash everything I haven't yet revealed. After Victor stormed out, James entered with a stack of reports. The company's stabilizing. New investors are lining up, eager to distance themselves from the scandal. Good. Dom reviewed the documents. How's the talent acquisition going? Better than expected. Top designers are jumping ship from our competitors, drawn by our new direction. James paused. Ryan sent another update. Sophia tried applying at 3 different firms today, and each one suddenly remembered past indiscretions that made her unhireable. Dom laughed without warmth. Funny how that happens. Working late that night, Dom received a text from Ryan. Target acquired new information. Sending details now. The attachments revealed Sophia and Victor's hidden insecurities, her deep-seated fear of returning to poverty, his desperate need for social status. Perfect pressure points for the next phase of Dom's plan. Sir, his assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your son, Marcus, is here. Dom's jaw tightened. I thought I made myself clear. He says he won't leave until you hear him out. Send him away. Dom's voice could have frozen fire. And Sarah, he's no longer authorized to enter this building. Ever. The anonymous messages started small. A text to Sophia. Remember when you were nothing. Tick-tock. Going back there soon. To Victor. Check your reputation lately. Even free clinics won't touch you now. Each note targeted their deepest fears. Dom watched through Ryan's surveillance as the psychological warfare took its toll. She's becoming paranoid, Ryan reported, showing video footage of Sophia checking over her shoulder constantly, convinced someone's following her. "Someone is," Dom replied calmly. Her own guilt. The next phase involved their living situation. One phone call ensured their lease was terminated. Another guaranteed no upscale apartment would rent to them. "They've moved to the Riverbrook district," James informed Dom, referring to the city's most notorious neighborhood. "It's all they could afford." "Perfect." Dom pulled up property records on his computer. "I own half the buildings there through shell companies. Make sure their neighbors know who they really are." Within weeks, reports flowed in of constant harassment. Graffiti appeared on their door, FRAUDs, and THAIVs in bright red. Anonymous tips to local gangs ensured their cars were vandalized regularly. Victor tried fighting back, showing up at medical conferences to plead his case. Each time, evidence of his misdeeds appeared right before his presentations. "You're enjoying this," James observed, watching Dom review the latest surveillance footage. "Enjoying?" Dom's eyes never left the screen, showing Sophia and Victor arguing in their rundown apartment. "I'm teaching them the cost of betrayal." The psychological pressure mounted. Victor began drinking heavily, his arrogance crumbling under social isolation. Sophia's designer clothes disappeared one by one, sold to pay for basic necessities. They fought, first with words, then with escalating violence. Each planted accusation blossomed into full-blown paranoia. She thought he planned to abandon her. He was sure she'd been talking to lawyers behind his back. Meanwhile, Stone Industries flourished under Dom's ruthless leadership. Stock prices soared as he channeled his cold fury into business success. "The board's impressed," James said, reviewing quarterly reports. "They're calling you a phoenix rising from the ashes." "No," Dom corrected, watching footage of Sophia and Victor's latest fight. "I'm the fire." Late one night, Dom received a desperate voicemail from Sophia. "Please, Dom, we're starving. Just talk to me. The Sophia you loved is still here." He played it twice, then deleted it without replying. A week later, Victor tried one last time, through James. "Tell him I'll disappear, leave the country, never contact him again." "You'll disappear when I decide," Dom responded, and not a moment sooner. Dom stood in his office, surveying the destruction of their lives through his newly installed surveillance feeds. James approached quietly. "Was it worth it? Ask me when I'm done." Dom's reflection in the window showed not the successful businessman the world knew, but the predator beneath. "They wanted to play games with my life. Now they're learning the rules of mine." Surveillance footage played across multiple screens. Sophia and Victor's deteriorating life. Their shouting matches, their public confrontations, their desperate attempts to salvage whatever remained of their reputations. "They're reaching a breaking point," Ryan noted, indicating footage of a particularly violent argument. She threw a lamp at his head. Dom watched with detached interest. His finger hovered over a button as Victor grabbed Sophia's throat. Now he spoke into his phone. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Officers burst in to find Sophia and Victor locked in a brutal fight. Blood had already been drawn, neither willing to back down. Their arrests played out on Dom's screens in perfect detail. "Quite a show," James commented from the doorway. "The encore will be better." Dom began systematically erasing files, wiping drives, removing every trace of his orchestration. Their lawyers can't help them now. Criminal records tend to stick. Later that night, Dom stood in his apartment, feeding the last pieces of evidence into a shredder. "No loose ends," he murmured. "No possible way to trace it back to him." His phone buzzed. Ryan confirming Sophia and Victor were being processed at central booking. Multiple charges, no chance of a swift bail. "Clean," Dom said, watching the final shreds fall. Time to build something new. The jail cell door slammed behind Sophia, the sound echoing through the women's detention block. Even in the orange jumpsuit, she carried herself with a hint of practiced poise. "Mrs. Stone," the guard sneered, "or is it still Mrs. Stone? Your ex-husband's quite the talk of the town these days. In the men's facility across town, Victor sat in solitary confinement, his medical license permanently revoked, his reputation destroyed. His cellmates recognized him. "Ain't you that doctor who faked his patient's cancer?" Man, that's low. Their lawyers brought grim news. No one would post bail. Their former friends wouldn't take their calls. Their assets were either frozen or vanished. Meanwhile, Dom sat in his office at Stone Industries, reviewing profit reports when his secretary buzzed. "Sir, Marcus is here again." Dom's jaw tightened. "I thought I made myself clear. He says he won't leave until you hear him out." "Send him in," Dom said, voice devoid of warmth. "Let's end this." Marcus entered, no longer the cocky teenager. His shoulders hunched, eyes desperate. "Dad, please. Mom's in jail, Victor's in jail, and I have nowhere to go. I was wrong. I'm sorry." "Sorry." Dom didn't look up from his papers. "You plotted against me, mocked me, planned to take another man's name while living off my money." "I was stupid." Marcus's voice cracked. "I let Mom manipulate me." "No, you made choices, adult choices." Dom stood, his presence dominating. "Now face adult consequences." "What am I supposed to do?" "Whatever you want. But not here, not with my name. And not with my money." Dom pressed a button on his desk. "Security will escort you out. Don't come back." As Marcus was led away, James entered, concern on his face. That was harsh. That was necessary. Dom turned to the window. He chose his side. "And you've won. Sophia and Victor are in jail. The company is stronger than ever. Maybe it's time to let go of the anger." "Let go?" Dom laughed, a sound without humor. "I haven't held on to anything. I've simply shown them who I really am." That evening, Dom went through old photos, family vacations, birthdays, celebrations, each memory now tainted by the lies behind the smiles. He dropped them into the shredder one by one. The next week, he attended a major charity gala, not as the desperate husband funding research, but as the powerful CEO expanding his influence. The city's elite surrounded him, drawn to his new aura of controlled strength. "Mr. Stone," a prominent hospital director approached, "we'd love to have you on our board." "Send me the details," Dom replied, smiling politely but distantly. "I'm always interested in new opportunities." James watched from nearby, noting how his friend had changed. The naive businessman was gone, replaced by someone harder, sharper, more formidable. Dom's private jet touched down in Tahiti, where he'd always dreamed of visiting. Not for relaxation. He learned to find peace and power, but to expand Stone Industries into new markets. His hotel suite offered views of ancient temples and modern buildings, a fusion of tradition and progress that matched his transformation. He stood at the window, not seeing the scenery but the future he would build. His phone buzzed with a news alert. Sophia and Victor had been released early for good behavior. A photo showed them leaving jail separately, broken and aged beyond their years. "Any reaction?" James asked over a secure line. "None needed." Dom's voice was calm. "They're irrelevant now." Back in the city, Sophia and Victor discovered the true depth of their fall. No one would hire them. No bank would touch them. Their former social circle treated them like play carriers. Sophia ended up working as a discount store clerk, living in a tiny studio apartment. Victor took a job as a night security guard, his medical career a bitter memory. They couldn't stand each other, each blaming the other for everything. Meanwhile, Stone Industries expanded exponentially. Dom's ruthless business acumen turned every venture to gold. He established the Stone Foundation, dedicated to exposing corruption and supporting ethical practices. At the foundation's launch, reporters clamored for interviews. "Mr. Stone," one asked, "how does it feel to rise above such public betrayals?" "The past is irrelevant," Dom replied with absolute authority. "I'm focused on building something meaningful." "Any message for your ex-wife and former friend?" No message. His smile was razor sharp. Their choices taught me valuable lessons about trust and consequence. In private moments, Dom felt no regret. He transformed himself into someone beyond their power to hurt. His company thrived, his influence grew, and his name became synonymous with uncompromising strength. He began mentoring select young entrepreneurs, teaching them to never show weakness. The moment you forgive betrayal, he told them, you invite more. Build your success on strength, not mercy. One evening, he spotted Sophia in a discount store. She looked old, beaten down by life. She saw him too, a flash of desperate hope crossing her face, but he walked past without acknowledgement. The next day, he approved plans for a new Stone Industries tower, 50 stories of glass and steel that would dominate the skyline. From his office at the top, he could see the whole city, including the rundown neighborhoods where his betrayers now lived. You've built something remarkable, James observed over dinner. No, Dom corrected. I've built something unshakable. The old Dominic died with their betrayal. What rose from those ashes is something they never imagined possible. 10 years passed, and the gleaming towers of Stone Industries dominated the city's skyline, symbols of power and success. At 60, Dominic Stone cut an imposing figure as he strode across the executive floor. Age had sprinkled silver at his temples, but his eyes still blazed with intensity. The Tamarind merger is complete, sir, his executive assistant reported, falling into step beside him, and the new manufacturing facility in Ceylon exceeds projections. Dom merely nodded, scanning the reports on his tablet. Stone Industries had evolved from a high-end furniture company into a global conglomerate. The furniture division remained, but was now just one branch of his empire. The Foundation's annual gala, he asked, stepping into his office. RSVPs are at capacity. The mayor, 3 senators, and the governor confirmed. The Stone Foundation's anti-corruption initiatives had gained international renown. Dom's carefully curated story of overcoming betrayal to build something greater was taught in prestigious business schools. James Fletcher, now in his late 60s but still sharp as ever, waited in Dom's office. After a decade as Stone Industries CEO, he remained Dom's most trusted advisor. The background check on the new board nominee turned up something. James set a file on the desk. He had lunch with Victor Gray last month. Could be coincidence, James offered. Nothing is coincidence, Dom replied, shutting the file. Withdraw the nomination. I don't allow even remote connections to the past near my company. James nodded, unsurprised. Dom's intolerance for disloyalty had become legendary. If anything, it had grown stronger over time. Speaking of the past, James ventured, I saw Sophia yesterday. Dom's hands paused on the keyboard. Why are you telling me this? She was working checkout at Maxwell's discount store, still in Riverbrook, looks 20 years older than she is. Her choices, her consequences, Dom said, his voice cool. What about Victor? Still working security at the industrial park. Had a heart attack last year, couldn't afford proper treatment. The irony of a former doctor relying on the ER. Dom allowed himself a small, humorless smile. And Marcus bounced from dead-end job to dead-end job in Fairview, changed his name to Gray. But Victor won't acknowledge him. Last I heard, he was trying to write a tell-all book about you, but no publisher will take it. They're too afraid of your legal team. Their conversation shifted to business. Later that evening, alone in his penthouse, Dom reflected on how thoroughly his revenge had played out. His phone buzzed. Ryan Pierce, the PI now running Stone Industries' corporate intelligence division. He still kept tabs on the key players from Dom's past. Thought you'd want to know, Ryan said. Sophia tried for a loan today, her 7th rejection this year. She's been sleeping in her car between shifts. Victor lost his security job, failed the physical after his heart attack. He's drinking heavily, blaming her for everything. They haven't spoken in years. Dom ended the call, a wave of satisfaction coursing through him. Even a decade later, the consequences of their betrayal still burned them daily. He walked to his private study, where a hidden safe contained a single USB drive, the only evidence he'd kept from that time. It held the raw footage of their final confrontation in the warehouse. He rarely watched it now, but its existence reminded him of the moment he truly transformed. The next morning brought a board meeting. Dom commanded the room with the same ruthless authority he always had. None of the directors were original members. He'd replaced anyone with ties to the old days. "Our expansion into Tamarind has exceeded targets," he informed them. "The European acquisition is ahead of schedule, and our tech division's latest patents position us to dominate emerging markets." The numbers told a story of monumental success. Stone Industries' value had increased 100-fold. Dom was one of the richest men in the country, but more than money, he'd built something unassailable. After the meeting, his assistant handed him an envelope marked personal. Inside was a letter from Marcus. "Dear Father, I know you don't consider me your son anymore. I've spent years trying to understand the magnitude of my betrayal. I was young, foolish, and let Mom and Victor manipulate me. I paid for those choices every day since. I'm not asking for money or forgiveness. I just want you to know that I finally understand what I threw away. You were the only real father I ever had, and I destroyed that with my own arrogance. I'm getting married next month to a wonderful woman named Sarah. We're expecting a child. I won't ask you to be part of their lives, but I needed you to know your grandson will grow up learning from my mistakes. Marcus." Dom read the letter twice, then fed it through his shredder without a reply. The boy had made his choice a decade ago. There was no going back. That evening, he attended a charity gala. The city's elite competed for his attention, drawn to his power and mystique. Young entrepreneurs sought his mentorship, offering loyalty in exchange for guidance. He chose his prodigies carefully, drilling into them his philosophy of absolute strength. "Mr. Stone," one young CEO approached, awestruck. "Your story inspired me to start my company, the way you transformed betrayal into empire building. The secret," Dom told him, "is recognizing that mercy is weakness. Build your success on strength alone." A television network soon invited him to Granville for an interview. The interviewer asked, "Looking back, do you think surviving such personal betrayal made you a better businessman?" "I didn't survive betrayal," Dom corrected. "I used it as fuel to become something stronger. The weak seek reconciliation. The strong use pain as a foundation for power." The interview went viral, adding to his legend. He was dubbed the Unforgiving Titan. Dom embraced the title, letting his reputation shield him from those who might seek weakness. In private, Dom never questioned his stance. His empire thrived precisely because he refused to show mercy. "Forgiveness is permission for future betrayal," he often said. His zero-tolerance policy had built something unshakable. 20 years from the day he first discovered Sophia's lies, Dominic Stone stood in his office, surveying his domain. The city spread out below him, every sector touched by his influence. Those who tried to destroy him lived in squalor. Their dreams had turned to dust. He had turned their treachery into triumph. They had meant to end him, but instead birthed his true self. He was no longer the betrayed husband or the abandoned father. He was Dominic Stone, a man who turned devastation into a dynasty. His name would outlive them all, carved into the skyline. As night fell, Dom felt the same electric satisfaction he'd known a decade before. He had won not just the battle, but the war, creating a victory so complete it continued ruining his enemies years after he'd moved on. Their betrayal had been intended to break him. Instead, it unleashed something far more powerful than they could ever comprehend. He was a phoenix risen from treachery's ashes, wings spread wide over an empire he'd built from their destruction. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.